Thank you so much. Thank you, panelists, for joining in. It's more like a manel, all males on the panel. I'm the only exception, but looks like it's going to be a tough one after a full-fledged, hard-hitting, very alarming presentation today. But I think we're going to enjoy this one. We have a very right set of people where we can get the best of the best insights, or where do we see 2030, the curricula changing. Now the topic is future ready. How do we look at MBA in 2030? Now 5 years down the line, what can change, what cannot, what should change, what should not? These are some of the questions that I have. Very simple, but answers can be very, very difficult to this. But as he said, I've made some notes from the previous presentation. We will start by the answer to many of our questions. I got it here. The world of 2030 demands AI-enabled, emotionally intelligent, cognitively sharp, and relentlessly adaptable individuals. That's what the answer is. That's what we need. That's what we look for. What do we do to have that in 2030? That's my first question to all of you, gentlemen. Tell me, what do we need to do today in terms of getting the result in 2030? Would you like to start, sir? We will put him in a more difficult spot later.
I think these are pretty much known, and work on this theme in terms of, I would say, a new age MBA had been happening right since the World Economic Forum report came out, and which said, well, the AI is there, and the whole logic for a business school like ours and in India is to how do you integrate AI into your pedagogy, into your curriculum. And I think all of the business schools have done that. I don't think there is not a serious lack of effort so far Indian B School Committee is concerned. I think all the B schools have done exactly that, in willy-nilly we have made AI and I would say data and digital technology a part of our entire curriculum process. In my particular view, leadership is only about integrating. And what AI has done and will do is and what we need to do is how can we use the fruits of AI, the technology of AI, to make an MBA. In fact, in my particular view, MBA is all about making that kind of wise integration of AI with what we teach normally. None of what we teach has become irrelevant. I personally believe that leadership is all about integration. Leadership is about decision making. Leadership requires an understanding that management is basically a social science, and therefore awareness of context, critical thinking, asking the eternally regressive question, why, is the most important question. And if we can do that and teach that particular skill to our students, I think we are done so far MBA education is concerned. So we need to make MBA much more deeper, much more reflective, and much more wise. And I think all of us are doing that.
Fair point, and these are some of the pointers that nobody would disagree to. Now coming to you, Professor, now tell me, these are some of the things that are known to everybody. And these are aspirational, that we need to reshape it, redo it. We need to relook at it from a fresh lens, from a 2030 perspective, to predict future. But how do we do it?
You know, I caught the last few snippets of the video that Edwin Moses was showing. And I saw a lot of industry people talking about the future of work, which is already here today. It's not a future, and the role of AI in it. So industry has thrown down the gauntlet. And academia, in our context, business schools, have to pick it up. And I don't think we are picking it up to the extent we should be picking it up, right? We are talking about it, we are doing stuff in the curriculum, but my view is we are not doing enough. This is a disruptor that has come in the way work is done, which we have never seen in our lifetimes. I think even the internet and the so-called Google was not as big a disruptor as AI is today. And I heard an interesting phrase yesterday in another discussion I was in. It was an online discussion, that maybe the problem we have is because in AI, A stands for artificial and people start getting scared. But maybe A is for amplified, because it is amplifying human intelligence the way it is today. And that's a positive way of looking at it. And what I mean is when we need to pick up the gauntlet, we cannot be doing incremental modifications and changes anymore and having a few courses on AI or a few courses on data analytics. We have all been doing that, and we are all guilty of not going beyond that, each one of us. Now AI and related technologies has to run through a horizontal in the curriculum. You know, the way today Excel runs like a horizontal through the curriculum. In every course, you need to use Excel. If you don't know it, you don't know English. So AI is going to run, has to run as a horizontal across all curriculum. And curriculum is not just content. Curriculum is content plus pedagogy plus assessment. And assessment, I think, is the biggest piece that we need to fix in academia. I talk to business leaders, and they all encourage their teams to use AI to do whatever they do. In fact, they say if you're not using AI, you are wasting your time, because if you use AI, you can do in 1 day, which would otherwise take you 3 days. Are we encouraging our students enough to use AI? I think the honest answer would be we are not encouraging them enough. Now, at least, you know, I speak for the world I see around me. In academia, we're not encouraging them enough. Assessments have to change. It's not just content, which is fairly easy to change. Pedagogy has to change, but the biggest, I think, roadblock is assessments. Once we start looking at assessments in a way where students are asked to use AI to submit whatever they submit, not just assignments, maybe even examinations, and we assess it in that context. I was very encouraged to see an article recently, not in the business school space, but IIIT Delhi. And IIIT Delhi has formally brought in AI into assessments. And they have said something very simple. When you submit assignments, also give all your prompts and which GenAI tool you used, so that they can at least figure out how the students are thinking. That's a good start, I think. If you look at prompts, you at least know what is going on through their head. It is not just submitting the final output, but the process of doing that. So we have to, be disruptive ourselves and take this bull by the horns and do something we have never done in the last 25 years. And be willing to completely, radically retransform curriculum on its 3 pillars of content, pedagogy, and assessment. Otherwise, the world will leave us behind and we'll become dinosaurs.
Wonderfully explained. And as I said in the earlier panel, I love contradictory viewpoint on the panel, but not too contradictory or provocative. I think the things needs to be spoken has been said, and I appreciate that. Taking this further, if we kind of invent or invent an MBA program in 2025 today, that has been way different than what it has been over the decades, over the last many years. Students today are learning on YouTube, AI pilots, ChatGPT, they are experimenting and learning. Though, if today I inaugurate a new university, new business school, I'm not too sure whether the answer is yes, the student will feel 100% confident coming to that university, even if I'm giving you all the courses that you need today. There are many other factors beyond the curriculum that a university or an institution is required to inculcate. Now my question to you is, Professor, we understand that we are not doing enough. We need to do way more. But do you think the problem statement is still ambiguous? Do you want to rewrite the problem statement?
So you were talking of inaugurating a new higher educational institution today. I'll share the experience of the first and the oldest IIM of India and experience, IIM Calcutta. That is what I represent here. With respect to what we have done with, in AI implementation in content, pedagogy and evaluation, I can proudly say that in all the three spheres at IIM Calcutta, I won't say we are way ahead, but we are pretty satisfied with what we have done. Of course, content part, it has been growing organically across courses. Now, it should not be equally mechanically and forcefully be implemented. Rather, let this come organically based on the demand of a particular course. Like how much in strategy and how much in financial technology course essentially has got to come from the intent and content. I should say, share this, that when we started, we have recently designed our online programs. 40% of the content essentially is going to come from artificial intelligence, 40%. And these 40% content are to be taken care of also by not our faculty, but by, we are in collaboration with a leading IT company, that they will be taking care of that content. So that is one part with respect to pedagogy also and content also. In evaluation, this is what I recently shared this with my faculty colleagues there. And one of the faculty colleague himself came forward, developed an algorithm and a software on AI platform. And instead of initially using it across board, what we first thought was that let us first get the physical evaluation done. Along with physical evaluation, the same evaluation should also be done through AI tools. Now, why it is important is because at the first go, if I expose the entire copy through that tool, this might lead to some kind of disruptive behavioral changes or responses by the students, because it will be a new thing for them. So we are gradually exposing them. So for this term, I mean the term that just passed by, there the evaluation was done physically as well as through AI tools, so that the difference and the gap between the two can be shown to the student. Now what happens normally is that as a student, I read based on certain content provided to me by teacher or by books. We try and frame our answer, added to that is my intelligence, my wisdom, my learning, and that is what we reproduce. But when it gets exposed to the IT tool, the entire global content is something that you are to be evaluated against. That may lead to a very drastic response in terms of evaluation. Now, management is not a technical subject where essentially 2 + 2 has to be 4. A lot of subjectivity, a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation, a lot of newer practices, a lot of superior learnings, and a lot of variability has to come in terms of our writing and subsequent evaluation. So, it is very important for the institution to enable this and make the student get ready to accept that. That is very important. So, in last term, there was one faculty who had developed his own tool and he got this evaluation done. I mean, that is in the process. We'll show the difference that is coming out of the tool as well as the physical evaluation. Then we are going to have 3 different platforms of AI. So this should not be like I'm buying a tool and I'm exposing all the copies onto that and presenting the numbers. No. One, this in-house tool. Second is a subscribed, a purchased tool. And third is a tool that a faculty and students together are developing. So 3 tools. In first go, that is in the coming term evaluation, we are going to have this 3 + 1, that is 3 plus physical evaluation. We are going to have all those 4 evaluations done because exposing through AI tools will not take time. Physical certainly does. We'll have a comparative study and then we will have to evolve an evaluation mechanism, adequately communicate to the student and make them agree to that. And that is where, so that is what I was saying, that it is not just in curriculum, that artificial intelligence tools, procedures, innovations are to be taught. But not just in our pedagogy, but also in our entire working, evaluation is one very important working. So from admission, that is in our admission also we are going to use this in this coming year. We are going to use this in assessment, because after CAT score, a lot of subjectivity comes in the selection of the students. Now, IIM Calcutta has been very particular with respect to the selection of the student while taking them inside, bringing them on board. So here also we are going to have certain degree of standardization. Largely technology is there for standardization. So it should be used only for that, and the teacher's wisdom should not be subsided. That should not be ridiculed, that should not be reduced to anything. So we certainly are doing that. Along with that, what is very important, and I was listening to in the previous session also, some people were talking about industry collaboration in framing curriculum. I go a little further, and that is what we are practicing here also at IIM Calcutta, is that till now we run 2 full-time program in association with 2 leading institutions. So in one program we have got ISI Calcutta and IIT Kharagpur. In another we have IIT Kanpur and IIT Madras. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to take industry also on board. So very soon, maybe from coming academic session, we are going to have MBA finance program with 3 industry partners. Now these industry partners should not just be collaborated in preparation of the content or curriculum, but also in terms of delivery and offering complete experiential learning. So that way it becomes not just a IIM Calcutta program, but a program whichever institution has got any strength that may add value to my student, be it institute, academic institute or industry, we are bringing them on board.
Very, very interesting and very ideal way of innovating in their sense and practicing what you've been. Hello, 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 hello. Better now, I think. I must appreciate that there can be many, many ways, but these are some of the examples how to innovate and going further in your innovation strata. Now, coming to you, Mr. Singh, now tell me, as a part of your role these days, you get to meet to industry people all, as well as these academicians as well. Tell me, what have been you observing in terms of being future ready and also giving some advice to academicians also? How can business schools strike a very healthy balance between deep academic thinking and also immediate industry relevance? Because there's a huge gap that industry people keep speaking about. They've given universities a big question mark that students are not employable. There's a huge gap that needs to be discussed, and that has been discussing. But what have been you observing? What can be your answer to this question? How can universities maintain that balance?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you Business World for organizing this, and don't know whether we will meet before the new year, so let me wish all of you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. And coming back to your question, and in 2030, MBA will not be a question of content and delivery when we talk about curriculums. And a dear friend, Edwin sir, is here. You just heard about NHRD Jackson research. The larger question will be, MBA will be a part of a leadership journey. And it will be a program which will be a milestone in that leadership journey. So whether you talk about the executive MBA, where the students will come who are already working and they will join the program, or the other side where the freshers will come who are in their teenage right now, so they are pursuing their medical program or engineering program or any general program, and then in 2030 they will be joining MBA program in India, abroad, wherever they will qualify. So we will have to see that MBA as just a milestone in the continuum of a leadership journey. That will become very, very critical. The second thing which we clearly see is faculty has a very important role to play because students will be there for 1 year executive program or 2 years full-time program, maximum 24 months they're going to be there with you, out of which almost 10 to 15% they'll spend time with the industry in their different internships. So what is left is a very vital question of the anchor, which remains the content. The concepts, they will not lose relevance, not at all. It will remain very relevant. More relevant will become faculty not just as a subject matter expert, that so and so ma'am or sir is a subject matter expert in finance or marketing, on human resources, operations, IT. That will not be the question. The question will be how the faculty can be a learning architect. And that we are experimenting a lot. When we used to do a certification program at NHRD, we used to ask for subject matter experts to come and deliver the program, the how part of it. But now we ask the people who lead it to make it a learning journey. How you can bring together 3, 4, 5 different people who may have, as you rightly said in the previous session also, ma'am, that who may not think like on the same frequency, they may be thinking differently. They have a different lens to look at those issues. And that will give, your job is to give different views and let the student, because the student is not a mere student, they are already a leader in themselves. They have done their 10+2, they have done their graduation, they are there in a MBA program. Let them think and decide what is good for them. That will become very, very critical, that we are not just as a subject matter expert in the institute, we are there in the college to ensure that we design learning interventions as an architect where the I of the faculty goes down and the we of the faculty and the system goes up. That's a very clear-cut thing which we can see. Third point which we very clearly see is no one knows the right answers. So anybody or any institution or any group of collaborations believe that, okay, I know all and I understand how it's going to unfold. They are making a mockery of themselves and the system. It will not work like that. We all don't understand, and like Moses sir was talking about, we all are just scratching the surface. We don't know what is going to unfold before us. At best, what we can do, collaboration will become very, very critical, because together as organizations we can come together and try to understand that what it's going to unfold like and what could be my very small bit of my contribution to make it better. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Very well said, very well said. I'm coming to you, Professor Moses, now with a little tougher question. Everybody has now said that there should be some additions to curriculum. There should be some upgrade in terms of institutions, business schools. What would you cut out from the curriculum?
I don't know. Let me answer your question and try to knit together many things that like I keep telling people, I'm a newly mint scholar, but a very proud scholar. Once on a trek, I met a Sherpa. I told him, I heard you guys are the best in climbing in the Himalayas, so how do you do that? He said, it's partly biological and partly mental. And I said, how's that? He said, biologically, we are physiologically built to consume lesser oxygen than most people, so we survive at higher heights than most of you guys can. And then what he told me next became a lifelong learning for me, and I hope it'll be for some of the youngsters living here. He said, the reason we are really good at climbing mountains is because we fear the mountains. Now for me, many years ago, that sounded like a very, very contradictory statement. And I said, how's that? He said, among the Sherpas, we say, mountains are the abodes of gods, best left alone. And out of that understanding comes a fear of reverence for the problem. So I think I'm very Greek in my thinking. I believe if you can solve a problem conceptually, then you can always find a way to solve it on the ground. So allow me to say it conceptually. I think I can't answer your question because we don't know the problem. Number two, even if you knew the problem, we are not in a position to solve the problem. Now you may ask me why. Well, one of the scholars that inspired me to come to teaching is a guy called Clayton Christensen. I managed to have lunch with him a few years before he died, because he'd be on the Tata boards. He used to come for meetings. One of my friends organized for a meeting. I'm a great fan of the way he taught and the way he conducted himself. So I go back to Clayton Christensen, you see. Let me tell you a story of Oracle. I'm going to say this as carefully, as politically right as I can, because I've got the director of my alumni, which I don't write down usually because I don't think I'm a full alumni because I never did a full MBA. In the late 2000, early 2000s, in 2010, 12, in Oracle we are struggling with a major problem. Is cloud a reality? Like today, business schools are struggling with the problem. Is AI a reality? And for many, many years, Larry Ellison kept telling everybody cloud is just a figment of people's imagination. And we lost the cloud war. Why was that? Because if we had to build a cloud business, we had to destroy our on-premise business. If the IIMs have to reinvent themselves, they have to destroy the core of what they have. Now that's what Clayton Christensen said, that the innovation will never come from the core because at heart we're all human. And the greatest interest in life is human. How do I tell professors you don't need to teach anymore? They say, what do I do with my time? And before you know it, the director is thrown out. The niece in Nokia, I mean, I spent 9 years in telecom, got a few patents in between, but the reason Nokia could never beat an Apple is because it was at the core. It required somebody to come from the edge to break it. Now, there's Masters Union sitting here. They'd like to think they're from the edge. I don't think they are. Because the fundamental of any design is timeless. The fundamental of teaching has always been concept. The fundamental of any education and wisdom has always been framework. The concept of all education has been theory on which you build practice. And when you try to reinvent that and say, I will teach you how to hit sixes, then sure, you're going to end up with, who's the guy who keeps hitting sixes, sir? Nice chap, young chap. No, T20. This flamboyant guy, he just hits that and goes for a six. He can never be a Virendra Sehwag and he can never be a Rahul Dravid. He can never be a Sachin Tendulkar. He'll be exciting. He'll give you runs, he'll win you matches, he'll get you jobs, but he can't build you careers. What the IIMs are doing is building careers. What the top schools are doing is building careers. They're equipping you for leadership, not for a job. However, what worked in the past can't work in the future. So how are we going to destroy the core? We can't. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I've got a very out-of-the-box thought. It's a thought that's always in my head for many years. I've shared it with Sanjay. I said, look, I'm a techie guy, and then I moved from hardcore manufacturing to engine design to embedded systems and all kinds of crazy stuff. And today when I buy my high-end Mercedes-Benz, it is always updated for its lifetime because there's over-the-air updates. No matter what changes in the market, that software is up to date all the time. To ask us to get a person ready for 2 years, for 40 years of his life, is asking for the impossible. What if we changed our business model, our model of education to saying, hey guys, I built the fundamental container, Patra as my professor, Atish, would talk about. Patra. You have to build the vessel first. And that's all we do for 2 years. Shaping the mind, shaping the way they think. Kids ask me, why do I have to pay 17.5 lakhs? They say ROI. I said, you forgot the concept of ROI. A big part of ROI is the number of years. We forget. ROI is not about 1 year. ROI is about, that's why mutual fund क्या बोलते हैं वो सही है क्या बोलते हैं ऐसे कुछ बोलते हैं you have to stay invested. So youngsters who are looking for ROI in 2 years, you got the wrong business model. So therefore, what if we got guys and prepared the crucible and the design and the structure of what it takes to be a successful leader and become a CEO one day like I was? And what if we gave them over-the-air updates like we did in software? That means we say you pay for your lifetime of learning. You just have to come to IIM Ahmedabad every 3 years. We'll flash a new software version in your damn head, and we'll send it out. Now that, I think, is practical. Because how do I predict the future? I can't. So why are we sitting here and trying to design a curriculum that's going to address a future that we don't know? I'm going to end with this, very much like what Einstein said. If I had 60 minutes to solve a problem, and my life depended on it, like it does, I'll spend 59 minutes asking the right questions. I think that's what you ought to do.
Yes, please.
I'll just add one-liner to him. The courage, the real courage in 2030 is not to decide what to add in the curriculum of MBA. The real courage will be to decide what not to be added in that, what is to be taken out from there, and what does not deserve the time and attention of the teacher and the student and the system, which should not be a part of the curriculum. That will be the real courage.
And it will 100% take a lot of courage, I guess, because a lot of...
Add to that, tell you how much courage it will take in real terms. At JAXOM, I have huge problems. I don't know whether you know it, but Atish sir would know it because he's part of that. 10 credits go into what is called as personality enhancement, where you teach 7 core competencies. When we started it, we installed a training company, but WCSB also talks about 4 quadrants, including a scholarly practitioner. There's one more quadrant we all forget. It's trainer. You see? 10 credits. You'll think I'm fighting industry. Actually, I'm fighting students. They say, why are you wasting my time teaching me lateral thinking, design thinking, problem solving, teamwork? Why are you making me get up at 6 in the morning and telling me that a sound mind happens only in the sound body, and buddy, you got to do yoga, you got to do Zumba, you do whatever you want, but you got to do 1 hour of workout every day. Because you know what? If you got to reach my age and still be active, you got to outrun me when you're 40 years younger than me. Because whether you take a decision at 12 in the night or 6 in the morning, your decision has to be perfect. And if you have to build that kind of stamina, you've got to be absolutely fit. Now, I have a revolution every day. Right now, I've got 40 students who can't go to the next term because they haven't completed their course. They completed all their courses except their personal enhancement. Now, that takes courage to do. It takes difficulty to do. It's not the easy path. But, if something is worth doing, then it's not going to be easy anyways.
Now, tell me, there are many pointers that needs to be done in terms of reaching that higher benchmark at 2030. A little bit more light on how do you think we need to groom faculties today? We talk about soft skills that are now hard skills today, cognitive ability, lateral thinking, cognitive abilities. Tell me, what do you observe there? And what would be your advice in terms of grooming faculties for 2030?
So the single biggest thing that will change the game is changing mindset. And it's not soft skills, it's not hard skills. That will come later. Mindsets need to be changed with faculty into actually believing that the future, which is the present, is radically different from what they have been trained in, from what they grew up in. So, what Edwin talked about Clayton Christensen, to innovate, you have to destroy the core. And destruction of the core will happen only if your mindset has shifted to be willing to destroy the core. The biggest problem is people don't want to destroy the core. They are so in love with the core
We can do that all together.
They are so in love with the core that, and they're so enamored with the core, they're so wedded to the core that they don't want to destroy it. But you can't move ahead unless you destroy the core. And that is the biggest mindset shift that should happen. People should be willing to get out of their comfort zone. They should not get defensive when the core is threatened. They should say, openly, the mindset has to shift that I recognize that for me to grow, I have to leave everything behind, and that is the core. So once I'm willing to do that, and that's a mindset shift. It's not a hard skill, it's not a soft skill. If we can do that, that is the magic bullet.
Now, evidently everybody agrees to your point. Nobody is in disagreement now. But what do you think, how ready is India for this?
I don't think we have a choice. We don't have a choice. It's not a question of being ready. We have to be ready, we have to be made ready. Otherwise, the analogy I give a lot of people is that we'll become dinosaurs in a museum. At one time, I'm sure the dinosaurs thought they were God's gift to mankind. Nobody could touch them. They were like invincible. And see where they are now. Because they obviously, in the process of evolution, the core did not get destroyed. And something else came which disrupted them. So it's not a question of whether we are ready. I think the question is, it's an imperative to become ready. And I believe the job of leadership is to make this mindset change happen and make people accelerate their readiness. So I don't think we can wait to become ready. We have to accelerate that readiness.
I just want to say, mindset change is the most difficult change. But aren't we all a creature of comfort? All of us, a creature of habit. And I find a kind of a platitudinous, in fact, a platitude. People must change their mindset. I think the onus is on business, in the leadership and in the management, the people who are directors and director generals, the vice chancellors, that they provide that kind of a condition and that enablement where faculty members are made to change. In fact, all of us know about it. So it's all about organizing more faculty development program, partnering with Harvard Business School and also with IIM Ahmedabad and sending faculty over there so that they understand that now they have to make their classes more immersive, more practice-based, and more scenario-based. You see, take for example, we all have been using cases, but then the thing is that we don't use cases to give people a right answer. The search for a right answer is gone in today's world. I think now we need to understand, we need to bring in cases like Indigo into the classroom and talk about it so that we can tell people as to how do you take decision in this kind of uncertainty. Now, faculty will change only when faculty members are enabled to change. And I think that's the bottom line. And something more, I don't think you need to take anything away. You cannot, you see, the purpose of MBA and the purpose of leadership is to prepare leaders. And you cannot prepare leaders by subtracting anything. Please don't take anything away from the curriculum. You need to add, you need to integrate. So that people understand that, if I have to take a decision, the decision has to be acceptable. The decision has to be feasible. And decision also has to be ethically correct and social and contextually based. That requires that the entire learning has to be holistic and not, I would say, partial. The bottom line is, if I have to become artificially intelligent, I don't have to become naturally stupid.
No one will join 5-year MBA. 2 years is a challenge. And madam, as of now, the faculty is preparing students for the first job. That which one you will join or when you will become entrepreneur and what. The competition will be which faculty, which institute will prepare the students for the first 2 jobs. If I'm preparing the student in HR for joining talent acquisition, because talent acquisition, there are so many jobs available. So good institute will prepare not only for the talent acquisition, they'll also prepare them for competency mapping. So that when the student and the same students, they're there in that company, your student will know a step ahead. And that student will know something which will be adding to the organizational goal. That will be the game changer. And there the faculty has to play a big role.
With the experience that something that we have been practicing at IIM Calcutta is that we have certain groups. Now each group has been asked to develop their own program. Each program mandatorily has to be in sync, in association with an industry partner. Not just one, as I've shared, in the coming academic session, we are starting our MBA finance program. There we have 3 industry partners. In certain cases, we already have had institute partner programs, but industry partner programs we are starting with. But a larger point that I want to bring your attention to is that there are 2 things, and people are, I still believe there has to have a degree of classification among institutions as to, are we preparing management students for business decisions, or we are training them for their first job. Now there is a difference between the 2. This AI, today we are talking of AI, 20 years back we used to talk of computers or English communication. Those are part of soft skills. Now over a period of time what has happened is soft skills have dominated so much so that it overemphasized and it belittled the content part of the education. Now we as a responsible institution think we are going to create business leaders, not just preparing them for their first job, which is largely skill-based job. So we have to prepare them to develop the ability to take corporate decisions today, 20 years down the line, and 40 years down the line as well. And here comes the role of a responsible higher educational institution like us. Lot of new things will keep coming. Lot of new things will keep coming. As I said, 20 years back it was computers, today it is artificial intelligence, 5 years down the line it will be something else. 5 years ago we used to talk of education 4.0, today we talk of education 5.0. So after leaving those basic IT tools, we again have started talking of IT plus individual human. Now, we as a responsible institution, again, as I say, since that is also important, so we need to bring in those industry partners into our program. At the same time, these core, self-driven, research-based, institute-partnered program integration essentially should be there for sustainability of the kind of output that we aim for to solve the business problems, corporate problems, societal problems, policy problems today, 10 years down the line, 30 years down the line, and 40 years down the line.
Interesting point, I really explain. I mean, the screen says time's up, but we will just take 10 seconds each. In my final question, we have already discussed so many uncomfortable questions and to that uncomfortable answers. But that was required to discuss, and we need to hold many more decisions like this to bring in that major mindset shift to see 2030 as desired to see. But in final 30 seconds, 10 seconds each, tell me what is one thing that you think in 2030's MBA a student shouldn't be compromised on. One value that they will be taking away from their MBA course in 2030 that shouldn't be compromised from an institution.
Yeah, one word. So I think people come to spend 2 years at a business school to rewire the mind. That shall never be taken away. As Professor correctly said, that wiring has to hold them 40 years down the line.
Empathy.
And I would say attitude. That will sustain.
Absolute comfort with technology.
Curiosity.
I'm already tempted to do MBA. I'm not too sure how many of you are thinking to go to school again, as we mentioned in the presentation, but I'm really, really tempted to go for 2030's MBA program. On this note, I'm really, really thankful to all of you gentlemen to make time for this panel discussion. This has been a very, very insightful, thought-provoking, and hard-hitting panel discussion. Thank you so much.